recently reviewed the new D&D starter set in a video that you can watch up there in the corner, and fortuitously, this arrived around the same time, the Pathfinder Game Night box set Dawn of the Frogs by Jason Bowman. I wasn't entirely sure if this was meant for beginners at first, but it definitely is. This is a standalone set that will teach you how to play Pathfinder. You don't need any of the books to run this. It has the adventure, pawns, or standees, as some folks call them. You have maps and you have dice. And it takes a pretty different approach to teaching the game than the D&D starter set. So we have some interesting comparisons to do. Before we get started, we have a big holiday sale going on right now over at HeroPlus.com. If you'd like to get some Kobold friends and accessories as little gifts for the holidays, just use the coupon code HOLIDAYS2025 for 20% off. So with thanks to Paizo for sending it my way, gather up some friends because it's game night and the Dawn of the Frogs. Enhance and improve your 5e games today with Hit Point Press. Black Friday brings some massive discounts on products I adore. Get bundles of animated spell cards, plus animated conditions, townsfolk, and more for between 35 and 50% off. The Fable Maker's Tarot deck and Deck of Many Things are both 25% off. My beloved Humblewood campaign setting and adventure is 33% off, and the Humblewood mini packs are 39% off. Plus, Fool's Gold, dice, plushies, Griffin saddlebag, Ethera, and more are on sale now for Black Friday. Go check it out now using our link in the corner or down below. Let's look at the components first. We have a 36-page adventure booklet, 4 robust pre-generated character sheets, 3 double-sided poster-sized battle maps, 4 identical rules reference pages, and a sheet of pawns for the PCs and monsters. Let's start with the maps. They are each 17 by 22 inches. They're not standard Paizo flip mats though. They aren't laminated, so you can't mark on them, and the paper stock is pretty thin, actually. One of my maps actually came a little bit creased, so you're gonna need to be careful with them. Some maps are half-size, as you can see here by the white line down the middle. The map art is good, and you can certainly use these with other adventures, though again, they aren't as sturdy as your typical laminated flip mat, so be careful. Here you can see the included tokens, which look pretty similar to the standard Pathfinder pawns, but there's a couple of differences. Since the set doesn't come with standard pawn bases, these slot into the extra piece of cardboard here to stand up on their own. So there are little slits in the bottom of the pawns. These are also rather glossy, where our regular pawns have had a matte finish in the past. But in the end, they function just like our prior pawns, and these can fit in the standard pawn bases just fine if you have them. Here you can see some of our hero pawns from the Monster Core set on the left, and some from the Game Night set on the right. I like that you can just add these pawns to your pawn collection. Here are our fold-out character sheets for our classic iconics, Ezra the Human Wizard, Valeros the Human Fighter, Kira the Human Cleric, and Mauricio Elf Rogue. Here's what I like about these sheets. The front of the sheets give us the character's background and personality, which should hopefully encourage players to inhabit their characters instead of just playing themselves, as many new players do in these types of games. And there is giant text on the bottom here to help players find a character that suits their playstyle. Inside, players will find a standard Pathfinder character sheet, but one that has been annotated. I love this. It's going to make it much easier to move on beyond the game night kit when you're ready to continue your adventures. The back of the sheets give the players an overview of what they need to know about the rules to play and some common actions they can take on their turn. And finally, there's advice about how to play each of their individual characters to their strengths in exploration and combat, which is another really helpful bit of information. For example, it recommends Kira, our cleric, to take advantage of her light and message spells to help her allies, and to lean on her high wisdom when possible. In combat, she should use her scimitar to attack, her shield to block, and her heal spell to help allies, and her vitality lash cantrip when encountering undead. Good stuff here. Now let's take a look at our rules reference sheets. Pathfinder is a dense game, and it can be pretty daunting to teach. The fact that they were able to get the core rules down to one page front and back is pretty impressive, but this does a pretty good job of teaching you all the core mechanics that you need to know. I think this page can also be a good bellwether to see if Pathfinder is a game for you, though. Pathfinder does best with players who like some crunch in their games. If this one page of rules is overwhelming to someone, Pathfinder might not be the best game for them. If they eat it up and want more, then you're on the right track. Keep in mind that this page doesn't have all the rules you need to know. The rest are taught as you play by the designated game master. Unlike the D&D starter set, Dawn of the Frogs is a fairly linear, traditional narrative adventure. It's also spread across 3 connected chapters, meant to be tackled sequentially. The adventure is set on Golarion, the world of Pathfinder. To be exact, it's in Dunmire, located on the northern shore of the Starstone Isle, so not tremendously far from Absalom if you want to continue your adventures. More on that in a little bit. Finally, we get a set of basic resin dice. There's only 6 dice in this set, so nothing particularly special here. Now let's get into the meat of the matter. The Dawn of the Frogs book is 36 pages long, divided into 3 chapters, each chapter designed to be finished in a single session. The heroes begin at level 1, but they've been adventuring together for some time already. They found themselves in the gloomy town of Dunmire, where several residents have gone missing around an old mill in the swamp. The story starts as the heroes approach the mill. Spoiler alert for the story now, so if you want to skip ahead, use that segmented timeline below and make that jump to the next part. So, inside, the heroes will discover a group of boggard cultists. Boggards being frog-like humanoids who aren't all evil. In fact, some live and work in Dunmire. But these cultists worship an evil boggard god named Gorgunta, and they've been kidnapping townsfolk and feeding them this fungus that essentially works as a charm spell, making the kidnapped people feel friendly toward the boggards. Then they ship those townsfolk off to the cult's main operation in the swamp. Back in town, the rescue villagers that the heroes found will wake up with poisoned minds, eager to return to their captors. The party must venture back into the swamp again to gather rare ingredients to brew an antidote, all while evading prowling threats like the infamous Slurk Two-Tusk. With the cure made, the new danger arises in Chapter 3. The swamp waters are swelling because the boggards are building a massive dam. The heroes head to the boggards' fortress, fight through their forces, and work to destroy the dam before the bog bottom area is swallowed by floodwaters. The book functions as a GM guide and an adventure. Only the GM should be reading it, and they'll be responsible for teaching some rules as the game progresses. It does a good job of holding your hand and introducing new mechanics gradually as you play. But it's not only teaching gameplay mechanics, it's also helping you learn how to be a proper game master. It'll go over things like how to help players who may feel a little bit lost and not know what to do next, how to improvise battle maps when combat breaks out unexpectedly, and how to make adjustments on the fly to fit the needs of your gaming group. It talks about how to use environmental details as both clues to push the group forward in the story and for improvised combat techniques when battle breaks out. It even goes into theory of mind, teaching players that their characters will know some things that the players don't, like what boggards are. So the book isn't just helping you on board with rules, but it's modeling the instincts of a flexible storyteller, showing you how to keep up the momentum of the story, subtly seeding the players' ideas, shaping the map to match their exploration, and how the GM should be a collaborative member of the storytelling team rather than an adversary for the players. It also follows what I consider now to be the standard format for Pathfinder beginner adventures. Chapter 1 is very linear to introduce the game. Chapter 2 introduces a number of problems that the heroes need to solve, but they get to decide the order in which they want to tackle them. And then Chapter 3 presents a rather large, open-ended challenge that offers the players the opportunity to really get creative in their approach, which is where TTRPGs really diverge from board games in giving the players more or less complete agency and how they want to tackle problems. And when we get to that chapter, the book talks about what to do when the group goes off script, because that can be the first panic moment for a new GM. Finally, the book concludes with a section about where to go next. It primarily recommends the core rulebooks, obviously, and the beginner box, which is over here, we'll talk about in a second, and the Abomination Vault's AP as a logical next step. One great thing about the beginner box here is that we had this, Troubles in Otari, which was a bridge to the full AP, which is right here, the Abomination Vault AP. And I keep having to remind myself that the Game Night Set isn't being marketed as a starter set, even though it pretty much functions that way. So let's get to the prices, and then we'll really compare all the sets. Dawn of the Frogs is available now for about $35. In comparison, the beginner box is $40 to $45. So which one should you get? I think if you're serious about learning Pathfinder, just go right through the beginner box. It's more robust, it includes rules for character creation and leveling, it has better components, and it has that direct path to the first full AP Abomination Vaults. But ironically, it does have a higher barrier to entry. There's a 72-page rulebook that comes with it, and there's an 88-page game mastery guide. The adventure is a bit more straightforward though, as it's just a kind of single dungeon crawl using the included map. On the other hand, if you want to see if Pathfinder is the right game for your group, and you want to get right to the table without having to read a bunch of rulebooks, then Dawn of the Frogs is probably a better choice for you. It also is more representative of a regular Pathfinder game with exploration and town encounters, plus more opportunities for players to think outside the box. If you enjoy it, move on to the beginner box. It certainly has some overlap when it comes to learning rules, but when you're starting out, having a little period of relearning isn't bad at all. It's also interesting to compare it to the new D&D starter box set we just got, Heroes of the Borderlands. That box set is a little bit more expensive at $45 to $50, but it comes with a bunch of really nice components, including a ton of maps and reference cards. That set also has a low barrier to entry, really gorgeous art, and those super nice components. My criticism of it was that it didn't do enough to teach folks how to be good role players or give game masters a lot of help in learning how to be creative, improvisational storytellers, which is something that this set I think does pretty well, especially for the game masters. I would still like to see a little bit more advice given to the players about how to collaboratively roleplay, but there's always new things to tackle. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. I'm curious to hear what they do with the game night set going forward. They could make a chapter 2 with the same party at level 2 while teaching some more rules, or they could take the same basic structure here and make a new level 1 box with different classes and a different story and a different setting. Which would you like to see? Giving Pathfinder fans multiple on-ramp opportunities I think is pretty great. I would like to see some other adventure paths designed for new players though, perhaps ones that are not centered around a dungeon crawl. I'd love to see one slanted more towards social encounters, politics, and intrigue. We have one more box set to go here at the Gallant Goblin, the Welcome to Hellfire Club D&D Stranger Things box set, so we'll be covering that next. But I also have the two new Forgotten Realms D&D books that I need to cover. I've been reading through those late at night here at home, and I'm super excited about what I see. D&D poached a bunch of talent from Paizo a couple years ago, and I'm definitely seeing some of those Paizo influences in these new books, so we're going to talk about them soon too. Spoiler alert, those talent, a lot of them have already returned back to Paizo, so that's also very interesting. And I have the first AP for the Starfinder 2nd Edition set, Guilt of the Grave Worlds. At first glance, it doesn't look like it's designed to be a starter adventure, but we'll find out. In the meantime, if you want to get one of my favorite box sets out there, I highly recommend the Humblewood box set on sale now as part of the Hit Point Press's Black Friday deals. Go check them out in the links in the corner or down below, and adopt yourself some colorful, cute little kobolds over at HeroPlush.com. In case you didn't know, all their little gear here is completely removable, so you can switch out your monk for your druid with the little leaf cape and the everything, the little monk mask and the sword. You can switch it all up. So go check all of that out, plus some shirts and pens and comics and stickers and more over at HeroPlush.com. Our holiday sale is going on right now, so just use the code HOLIDAYS2025 if you want to get 20% off. So that's it for me today. I'll fix you up in a minute there, Kaku. But for now, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.